Do you like Tarkov? Of course you don't. Nobody actually likes Tarkov. You're all just pretending, and what you actually like is pain, so you find the most masochistic game on the internet to play so that you suffer and get fired from your job because you were late to work again because you had to get in one more raid. I'm kidding. Kinda. But luckily for you, there's another game that aims to make you suffer, but it's doing things a little bit differently and hoping to do some even better. This is We the People, an upcoming game set in the Pacific Northwest. And while it's still very early in development and the scope of the project seems a little bit overzealous, I'll talk about that in a second, I've got high hopes for this game and believe they can do some great work, primarily because I know one of the developers personally, and he's a pretty straight shooter. He's actually the one that programmed my whole Joe Biden deer short meme, if you remember that from a while ago. If you don't, I'll link that down below because I could use the views. But there is more to this game than that deer. So let's get into what this game has to offer because, well, it's kind of a lot. At least that's what they're aiming for. And it all isn't going to be there day one, of course. Some things are going to be added in the future. The game is set to release into early access. So with that in mind, here's the juicy info. First and foremost, this is going to be a first-person extraction-based looter shooter set in the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be PvPvE, so you're going to encounter enemy players. But one of the primary things that makes this different than Tarkov, the real enemies in the game aren't just scavs or some sort of raider faction, they're actually zombies. So you've got hostile players, you've got scavs and raiders, and you've got zombies. I guess, yeah, that pretty much sums up Portland, doesn't it? Kidding, guys. I know Portland is like super safe and everything. Now, the main gameplay loop is the typical extraction shooter. You hop in, grab some loot, kill some players maybe, extract, do some quest, but there are some atypical things that go along with this that aren't in many other games, though they are becoming more popular. And this is where things are going to get difficult for the devs. They're going to have a general hub site as well as your own personal hideout. So for the general hub site, think of something like the Cycle Frontier. You're going to see players here wandering around, and then for your hub site, you're going to have an area to manage instead of playing Tetris on the screen like you would with Tarkov. Now, the next part here is heavily dependent upon whether or not people are playing the game. There will be an arena mode. There will be several maps for this arena mode, and it's going to be implemented into the game where you can play against other gamers, well, in an arena mode. There will be ranked and unranked mode. In the unranked mode, it's going to be just for fun. You'll get to run around, shoot people, enjoy the gunplay mechanics. But in the ranked mode, you'll be able to wager your gear or your loadout, and you can 1v1 someone there for that loadout. And I think that's a really, really cool feature. But again, if nobody's playing this game, that part doesn't matter at all. Now, the game will still have RPG elements where you have to basically level up some of the things on your player, as well as have traders to talk to, complete those quests. It wouldn't be an extraction shooter, really, if that weren't the case. So some of those things are kind of like Tarkov, but that's just the basic idea at this point. There's not much more to say other than they're going to have their own twist on an extraction shooter. So we'll just have to see how that gameplay mechanic comes into fruition, especially the arena mode. Now, in the raid, though, there are some cool things that they're hoping to do that's a little bit different than everything else out there. The first thing is that when you kill these zombies, they will degrade over time. This right here on the screen is the early implementation of this, so it's likely going to be adjusted, be a little bit more severe. But the idea is you have a clue on how long ago the zombies were killed. So if they're extra fresh, you know someone was just there and you got to keep your eyes out. And if they're really old, it's likely someone hasn't been there for a while and they're not just camping that area. So that's just a nice little clue to engagements there. Another thing is the things like wrappers or food containers that you're going to use. Those will be left behind after you use them. So if another player comes along, they may be able to notice those to see that someone has been in the area. Maybe that way they know a building has already been looted, or maybe someone's in the building looting, so they can be a little bit more aware. If you look at the screen here, you'll see that there's also immense weapon customization. Not only is it cool to have all these attachments, but they actually went out of their way to partner with companies and get the rights to all these items in the game so that you're actually going to have properly named items instead of the M17 or the Ecotech hollow side, stuff like that. It's a very little detail, but it's a welcomed one. Now, what I'm most excited about, though, is the gunplay. A while ago, I did a video on this Unreal Engine plugin called the Ultimate FPS Framework. The same guy that made the deer meme video has been making this, and I'm guessing this system is going to be completely implemented into this game. Not only are there a lot of great things here with that, but it's also going to streamline the process when it comes to gunplay, when it comes to implementing new weapons maybe. In general, it's going to provide a very good foundation for the ballistics and the gunplay in the game. And just knowing this guy a little bit and seeing some of the things that he implemented into this plugin over the past couple years, that gives me confidence in this game's future. He's been a straight shooter since day one with me, and after knowing him a few years, I trust him with this game. I've been trying to get him to get into game development for a while, so I'm glad he finally took the plunge. Now, it's no secret here that if they're going to try to gain Tarkov's level of success, they're going to have to perfect everything and do some things better, especially providing a better experience for gamers. One of the things they plan on doing this is removing one of the incentives to cheat. So here's an example of that. In Tarkov, you can spawn in, and if you buy the proper cheats, you can see everybody's loot and see all the loots in the container. That makes it very easy to find objects that you want, sell them on the black market, and get as much money as you can, and then basically sell the account so that you make a lot of money. In We the People, however, they've apparently fixed this problem. Instead of being able to see what everyone has, the server only gains access to the knowledge of what the player has or what's in specific containers if the player interacts with that container. I'm not exactly sure how it works on the back end, but to me, it sounds like some sort of token system. So you get into the container, you can see what's in there, and then when you stop getting in the container, the server has no access to what you have. So hopefully that's going to remove an aspect for cheaters and not incentivize it as much. Though unfortunately in any game now you're going to have that. It's just part of gaming. But also, along with knowing this guy, one of the things that I really like is that it's being created by a team of veterans. Not that that automatically makes a game developer legitimate or that means the quality is going to be top-notch, but if the goal is trying to make the game as realistic and authentic as possible, which it is, that means they've got a very good background when it comes to all this. They understand systems, they understand ballistics, they understand how the human body works. So that could be fantastic for this game. Now, I'll pull up the roadmap here of their development. For the recent Steam Next Fest, they had their tech demo. That is not available anymore, unfortunately. So they've got some stuff coming up in the future, and you'll see that you can try out their early development builds by subscribing to their Patreon. But as you can see, it's also going to be an early access release where they build upon that foundation. Now, obviously right now, the game is in very early production, and I didn't get my hands on the technical demo, but from what they've said with that 30-minute video and what they've showed off there, I'm excited for the project. I feel comfortable trusting that they're going to make a good game. And really, I don't think that there's any other zombie extraction shooters out there on the market. You can correct me down below if I'm wrong, but I think specifically with those extraction shooters, I don't think anything has zombies, but maybe I'm just blanking there. I'll link their Patreon down below if you want to check that out, as well as their 30-minute introduction video, and you can keep your eye on the development there. As with anything, don't spend money that you can't. If you're on the edge here, don't just dive right in, just keep your eye on it and maybe come back to see how the development has progressed. But that's all for now. I'll try to update you more as more things come out. If you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button, and likes are always free and appreciated. I'll see you in the next one, gamers, but until then, be bold, be courageous, stay gray.